The galaxy was at war, not with itself, but with an enemy so alien, so incomprehensibly vast, that even the oldest civilizations of the core could barely fathom its existence. The Vexar swarm, an unrelenting hive-mind species from the dark voids between galaxies, had descended upon the Milky Way, consuming entire star systems in days. Planets burned, civilizations fell, and ancient alliances crumbled like dry leaves in a storm. The Galactic Concord, a coalition of the galaxy's most advanced species, had convened in the towering crystalline halls of Clitherion Prime. The Council of Elders, a group of beings who had seen eons pass, stood in grim silence. For all their technological brilliance and millennia of knowledge, they could find no solution. "We must retreat to the galactic core," said Elder Vithrak, his bioluminescent fronds dim with despair. "Sacrifice the outer spirals to buy time." The chamber buzzed with agreement until a deep, steady voice interrupted. "No, we fight." All eyes turned to the human ambassador, Commander Elise Varga. She stood tall in her simple black uniform, a stark contrast to the ornate robes and glittering scales of the other delegates. Her dark eyes burned with defiance. "Fight," scoffed Jurelith, a crystalline being from the Truvarn Nexus. "Your kind is barely out of its cradle. What could humans possibly contribute to this war?" Elise smiled, a predator's grin. Survival. Humanity had always been underestimated. When they first ventured beyond their homeworld, the galaxy's elder races had dismissed them as reckless and primitive. But in the centuries that followed, humans proved themselves in ways no one had anticipated. They were scrappy, resourceful, and utterly relentless. While the Concord's fleets had been annihilated in pitched battles, humanity had perfected asymmetrical warfare. Their ships were smaller, faster, and more adaptable. Their soldiers fought with a ferocity that bordered on madness, and most importantly, they never gave up. "The Sworn is unlike anything we've faced before," Elise continued, addressing the council, "but they're not invincible. We've analyzed their patterns. They're predictable, like any hive mind, and predictable enemies can be defeated." "And your plan?" asked Elder Vithrak, skepticism evident in his tone. "We lure them into a trap," Elise replied. "Humanity will lead the charge." The chamber erupted into chaos. The idea was madness. The swarm's numbers dwarfed anything the galaxy could muster, but beneath the protests, there was a spark of hope. For all their bravado, the elder races had grown complacent. Humanity, however, thrived in chaos. The plan was audacious. Humanity's fleet, the Vanguard, would act as bait, drawing the swarm into the gravity well of a dying star. Hidden within the star's corona would be the Concord's remaining forces, armed with prototype weapons designed to disrupt the swarm's hive mind communication. "This is a suicide mission," said Captain Amr Rahman, Elise's second-in-command, as they reviewed the plan aboard the HSH Resolute. "It's a sacrifice," Elise corrected. "One we have to make." Amr frowned, but didn't argue. Every human aboard the fleet knew the stakes. If they failed, there would be no galaxy left to save. The battle began in the cold void near the dying star, HRD 974. The Vanguard fleet emerged from hyperspace, a swarm of sleek, black ships bristling with weaponry. They opened fire immediately, unleashing a storm of kinetic projectiles and plasma bursts. The Vexar swarm responded in kind. Their bio-organic ships, pulsating with eerie green light, surged forward like a tidal wave. Tentacle-like appendages lashed out, tearing through hulls with terrifying ease. "Maintain formation." Elise's voice rang out over the comms. "We need to hold them here." The humans fought with everything they had. Destroyers rammed into larger swarm vessels, detonating their cores in fiery explosions. Fighters weaved through the chaos, picking off smaller targets with pinpoint precision. On the ground, strike teams infiltrated swarm carriers, planting bombs and sabotaging vital systems. But the swarm's numbers were overwhelming. For every Vexar ship destroyed, 10 more took its place. The Vanguard's losses mounted rapidly. "We're running out of time," Amr said, his voice tight with urgency. Elise nodded. "Signal the Concorde. It's now or never." Hidden within the star's corona, the Conquered's fleet waited. As the signal reached them, they activated their weapons. Beams of blinding light and waves of electromagnetic pulses tore through the swarm's ranks. The hive mind faltered, its ships losing coordination. "It's working," Amir shouted. The victory came at a cost. The dying star, destabilized by the energy discharges, began to collapse. A massive shockwave rippled outward, consuming both swarm and vanguard ships alike. "All units, retreat," Elise ordered, but it was too late for most. The Resolute's engines sputtered as the shockwave slammed into it. When the dust settled, the battlefield was a graveyard. The swarm's advance had been halted, but at a terrible price. Of the thousands of humans who had gone into battle, only a handful survived. Elise Varga was not among them. Her sacrifice, and that of her people, had bought the galaxy precious time. In the aftermath, the Conquered honored humanity's bravery. Statues of Elise and her crew were erected on countless worlds, a testament to their heroism. The elder races, humbled by the humans' example, vowed to never again underestimate them. And as the galaxy began to rebuild, one thing became clear: when the galaxy needed heroes, only humanity had answered the call.